go.
Beautiful.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Scott Keating, thank you for joining me on GV Talks.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me in.
My pleasure. What have you been up to this morning?
My normal routine, I get up in the morning. I either go to the gym, which I didn't this morning, but I grab a coffee at Lemon Tree and black coffee and head down the river. So I go out in nature. I was down there probably 5:30 in the morning. I get out each morning and that's my me time and my time to myself. So I've been down there, spend a bit of time down there, then come back and take on the world, deal with the world.
Do you ever sleep in on Sundays?
No, I don't. We're having a battle at the moment. My wife wants me to stay in bed one morning a week. So occasionally, very occasionally, I'll stay in bed. Otherwise, and I tried it this morning, but she heard me leave. But I'll try to leave, go down the river for a while, come back, sneak into bed before she wakes up. And she'll wake up really happy that I've been in bed. And then she'll see a Facebook Live and go, "You went down the river." So I get caught out once I do a Facebook Live and she sees that later on. But I get back, try to sneak into bed before she wakes up and do that. So no, I really struggle. Once I wake up, I'm awake. I find it so frustrating laying there looking at the roof.
Overactive mind.
Yeah, get going. So once I'm up, I'm all steam ahead.
How did you meet your wife?
Long story. We actually went to school together. We went to Shep High, and I found it interesting. You had Lindsay Dan, who was my history teacher.
Was he?
Yeah. I saw that podcast. So we went to Shep High together, and it was funny because we didn't talk. My wife sat up the front of the room, and I was normally kicked out of the room. So we were in the same year level, but didn't really connect till later on. And it's it was interesting because we didn't talk. She'd come out to nightclubs. I was a bit out of control, and there'd be a fight at the dance club, or like at Shepparton or whatever. She'd go, "Oh, that's Scott Keating. He'll be in that fight." But then we connected later on. We actually went to a party where I was boxing at the time, so I was sparring Sunday morning at. So we're 21 because we went to a 21st. So I was sparring in Melbourne the next day, so I wasn't drinking. She had an incident happen up here, and a pretty horrific incident happened, and her and her ex-boyfriend, I suppose, got mugged. So she come out. Some friends brought her to this party because she was not in a good headspace. Yes. And we were the only two not drinking at this party, so we got talking. we finally sat down and had a proper conversation, and I asked her out from there. I remember asking her to go to the pictures on a Tuesday night, and she's like, "Oh, I think I got netball." I'm thinking, well, you either got netball or you haven't got netball, but she was trying to obviously keep a buffer. Keep her options open that she could. So we just bet from there and went forward from there, and been married now 27 years. Got 3 kids, and she's a trooper. She's she's a real hero. She's stood up in a lot of situations where she shouldn't have had to, where I should have. Yeah. So she's been a rock of the family, and for a long time when I was struggling, sort of thing. So
Awesome. I want to get more into that eventually, but before we get too deep into it, do you want to let the Shepparton people know exactly who they're listening to?
Yeah, so I'm Scott Keating. I'm 49 now. Moved up to Shepparton when I was 7. Dad started a business up here, so we moved from Tullamarine. We lived in Tullamarine when there were cows around us, so it was a long, long time ago. And we moved to Shepparton, went to school up here, played sport up here, started a business, started windscreen saver business 20 years ago. I got wife, 3 kids, all still living here at the moment. Love the area.
Yeah, you seem like a bit of a pillar for the community at this point in your life. Like, I see your Facebook and your Instagram videos, and they're always positive, and it seems like you're trying to bring the community up. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I love... There's not many things these days that make me mad. And when I jump on, and it's probably the Shep News Facebook page especially, and see people bagging the community, that's one thing that annoys me, because it's just an awesome community. I've grown up here, so many opportunities. My kids have had great opportunities. My wife's had great opportunities. My family, and there's just so many awesome people out there. And it was 6 years ago this January 30th that I had, or myself and my wife, we got the windscreen savers and our shed burnt down. And so that was 30th of January 6 years ago, and the support we got from around, we had a 6 years ago, we had a January where everything was going well, and then my dad passed away on the 6th of January, then our shed burnt down, the shop burnt down, and then 2 weeks later my auntie passed away, and we just had so much community support and just passionate about giving that back and helping other people, and just love. I don't know. I just see the Golden Valley and the whole Golden Valley, Shepparton at the moment, just booming. Like houses going up. There's young blokes in business, or young guys and girls in business who are smashing it, and it's just so inspiring. It's just so inspiring with what's going on in the area, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. Whenever I see something tragic happen, the Shepparton community just gets around each other.
Yeah, I honestly think if I had my windscreen business in Tullamarine, it would have just been, there's another windscreen business. But you get into a community like this, and I suppose you get back what you give too. So if you're giving and helping, and that comes back to you, and that really come back to us 6 years ago, and really upped how much I want to help in the community and support other people. So yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your windscreen company.
Windscreens, we started 20 years ago. Started doing windscreens 30 years ago. And just wanted to do something for myself. And when we started the business, it was more about flexibility. I had 2 young kids, and it was about not being stuck in a job where I had to be somewhere from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It was a bit more flexibility that I could go to the kids' sport, I could pick them up. Because when we started, we were mobile. Yeah. Then we moved into a shop down the track. But when we first started, it was about just being around the family and doing that. It's passion. My wife and I argue a little bit because she's always wanted to be a full-time mum, and I'm going, I could do the full-time dad thing. So I try to find a balance there where I could do the mobile windscreens and drop them off at school, pick them up occasionally, and go to their sports day and that sort of thing. So that's where it started. And it was interesting because I read a book a while ago, and because people say it takes a lot of money to get into business and all that, and it was John Ilhan, Crazy John Phones. So reading his book, and he left Stratfield or whoever it was, but what he used to do was go sell a phone, then go get the money off the customer, go buy the phone, then go and deliver it. And that's pretty much how I started the business. It was, I bought an old crappy van, bought some tools, and I would go, a customer would ring up for a windscreen, I'd go get the windscreen off another company, go fit it, sell it, get the money, take it back to that company, and so build it from nothing really. So there's many opportunities where you can build a business without needing an investor and needing 10, 20, 50 grand to start a business, and just started that way and just build it up from there. So
yeah, definitely. I encourage people who come to me to talk about business to start small, keep our overheads as low as possible, and it'll grow from there, and then you can turn it into this big dream that you envision it to be. Yeah,
definitely, and I fully agree with that. And even with COVID that's happened last year, and we powered through that, which I'm still unsure how, but we did. But we've been through the global crunch and been through fires and floods and all that, and keeping our overheads low. It's just been easy. It's just been easy to go through that and do that. So yeah.
Are you at the point where you're employing some people locally?
Yeah, I've got an apprentice. We started an apprentice a year and a half ago, Clayton, and he's doing an awesome job, absolutely awesome. And this year, my goal is to expand that further. Because I want to get out. We were talking just before, my body's breaking down, my body's falling apart, but it's just the same motion over and over for 30 years, I think. And I want to get out. I still love fitting windscreens, so I still want to do that, but I want to get out working on the business more than being in it all the time. So yeah, have a goal this year to expand that even further. So I'm loving that. Yeah. Loving that leadership role and helping someone else and giving someone else another chance. And I've always said when I go into business, I want it to be I suppose in leadership these days, I want it to be a win-win. I don't want just someone working for me who turns up, does their 8 hours, goes home. I want someone who it's a win-win, whether it's at the moment they need money or at the moment they want a bit of flexibility in their time, and just find that balance that it's a win for, we're all pretty much got to work, but you might as well enjoy what you do. I hate jumping on social media on the Monday and it's like, oh, it's Monday again, and you see these people trading 5 days for 2 days. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
You might as well be doing something you love and be in an environment that you love. So I try to create that environment. That's, I suppose, in my life it's become so important, but even in the business it's so important just to have an environment where I like it, I can thrive. Also Clayton likes it and he can thrive, so I'm loving that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Like, I don't imagine people grow up thinking, I want to be a windscreen repairer. Like, how do you make somebody see the benefits of doing a job like that? Like, it's a very important job. Like, if people have a cracked windscreen and they crash or a rock hits it, like, it could be, like, crazy. Like, somebody could really get hurt.
Yeah.
So you're doing an important job.
Yeah, and it is. It's funny. I had this conversation yesterday, or Clayton had this conversation with me yesterday. We were talking about, doing high school or VCE, VCAL or whatever, and what you want to be. And he said, I didn't even know you could be a windscreen fitter. He said, I just thought windscreens got fitted and they never broke. Like, that was he said, no one ever said anything about it. You can be an electrician, you can be a plumber, you can be a builder, a hairdresser, whatever, a doctor, whatever you wanted to be, but he's never heard of that. And I suppose for me, I fell into it I didn't like school. So I'm glad Lindsay Dan come on before me than after me. No, I get along well with him. But it's, I didn't like school, and my parents said to me, you're going to school unless you get a job. So I just went and got a job. And my first job was actually at Joe Delay Radiators, doing car radiators at NatRad. And a little while after that, I think I was there a year and a half, and then I moved out to Shepparton windscreen, and we're doing radiators. And back then, we soldered them. They weren't plastic like they are today. So they'd be overheating in summer. We're in overalls, over a flame, and the blokes up the front fitting windscreens were in singlet and shorts. And I'm going, that looks way better. Like, so yeah, I just fell into it as well. So just, it wasn't, I didn't grow up going, I want to be a windscreen fitter, but just fell into it, and I've been there for 30 years. So I keep, either I don't know, I don't know. As I say, I enjoy it now, and it's interesting you say, about the job, because I went through a stage, which we'll probably touch on later, but I went through a stage through a bit of a dark period, and I got to a stage of who cares who fits a windscreen? Like, it's a bit of glass, who cares? And then I had to align it with my values, which my values are serving people, helping people, and by aligning my thinking of what I do around that, it's allowed me to thrive in the business, because I went stale for a long time, because I was just, in my mind, I was just fitting a piece of glass, big deal. But all of a sudden, when you can align something that you're doing, and that's what I say to people, even if you're in a job that you don't, it's not your passion, but how can you make it your passion? Like, how does it fit into your values? And that's what I did for myself, was just, aligned it with service. I pride myself on my service, helping people. Love getting out now that we're mobile, so a lot of jobs, the customer's there, so we're talking, we're interacting. So, just align the business to my values, if that makes sense,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's very good if you can have someone explain to you, you're not just repairing the windscreen, like, this is like a service, like, where somebody that people can look up to in the community, and, like, repairing windscreens is very important for the reasons I stated before.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely. What would you say to somebody who wasn't sure what they wanted to do?
I could say this with certainty, because we got our youngest, so we've got 3 kids. Jake's 25, Ellie's 23, and Bridie's 18. So she's just come out of VCE last year. Yeah. So she's got no idea what she wants to do or any of that. And it's interesting, and I hear so many people speak about it. But if I went back to 18, not knowing what I'm doing, or 49 and not knowing what I want to do, it's go get skills, go and experience things. And I know when I went through a period of, I finished up with windscreens for a little while, and I did hay carting, I've done fruit picking, I've done cementing, and that was some of the best times, hay carting and fruit picking and doing them things. It was, just go get skills at the moment. And I think they're saying now that kids that come out of high school today will go into 8 different industries, like, I think it's 13 or 15 different jobs, but 8 different industries. So just go get skills, go get life skills, go get, whether it's communication skills and don't so much, and I know it's hard when you don't have money, but don't so much worry about the money, worry about the skill set you can get, the network you can build up. I think that's so important. I know we've been heavily involved in sport. The kids have been heavily involved in sport, and it's played a role in them getting employed or the job that they've taken on. It's connection. So that would be my thing, is go do that. But if you're in a job, you're fruit picking or whatever it is, and you're not enjoying it, again, how can what can you align yourself to, or get out of it? Try and look for something else. But otherwise, align it to a value that you have, and do the best you can each day.
Yeah.
Just do the best you can, because it puts you in the best place for tomorrow.
100%. So it's similar to my story and your story. If you just try as many things as you can, you'll fall into the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And don't be scared to try. Roll up the sleeves and go, I'll try that. And even it's interesting listening, because we've always had in our family, like we talk about sport, if you commit to something, unless there's a major region, you're playing the year out. Like, you've committed to this team, you've done that. And my daughter was saying, or Bridie was saying about, oh yeah, but if I get a job, then I've got to commit. I'll go, well, you do and you don't. Like, you're probably going to go on a 3-month trial, and that's your 3-month trial and their trial.
Yes.
It's both of yours. Do I like the job, and do they like me, and do we fit? So, yeah, don't feel like because you take a job, you're locked into it. Go and try it, and if it's not for you, then move on.
Yeah. A rule that somebody once said to me said, no matter what you're doing, you should change it every 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like even if you're doing one job, and you just want to go try somewhere else doing the exact same job, like he was encouraging that. I don't think it looks too good on your resume, but I think you're going to learn so much more if you do it that way. And if I wasn't working for myself, I think that's what I would have done.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same. And I often, I went through a lot of jobs early doing that. I reckon I worked at, I'm going to say four, maybe 5 different windscreen places. And it is, you're doing the same job, different people around you, different leadership. Someone might do that job different, and you pick up something different, or you teach them something. Yeah, and changing that environment up, I think, is important too. You can, especially if you go stale.
Yeah.
If you go stale, you're no good to you, and you're no good to who you're employed by, really.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was how your life has evolved. Can you tell us some fundamentals of a good life?
Yeah, I think of a good life, some fundamentals. And I'd just say, I suppose as I've gone on, just trying different things and stop worrying about what other people think is a big one. I think we're taught, whether it's a school system, it's in sport, it's whatever it is, where we view not achieving what we want to achieve as a fail. But it's, just try things. Just keep trying. Just keep, be true to yourself. But just try things, and there's no, what do they say? There's no failure. There's only, you win or you learn. But doing that, stick to your values, know your values and stick to them. It's something I swayed from in part of my life that put me in a dark place. But stay true to who you are, be who you are. Don't worry about what's the social norms or the expectations that are expected of you in society. Be you. Just go find you, and that's what I found is the more I've been me, the more you attract the right tribe around you. When you're trying to be someone else, that's what other people are seeing, and you're getting the wrong tribe around you. Once you start being you and you can be comfortable in your own skin, you actually attract the right people around you.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the dark time in your life?
Yeah, we can go there. It's since it was probably half my life. So, I as I say, I grew up in Shepparton. Started in Melbourne, grew up in Shep, and I've been very lucky that Dad passed away 6 years ago. Up until that, I've had a loving mum, loving dad. Life around me's been pretty good. But I went through a dark time, which happened for a number of reasons. We can go All right, we'll go the full story. We'll go when I was so Dad had a business up here. There was three of them. There was two mates and Dad, and one of the partners or one of the mates screwed the other two over. They left him in a lot of debt. So Dad actually chose to go to Melbourne, back to Melbourne to work because he could earn more money in the industry he was in. So he went back and did that. So he was gone 4 to 5 days a week. Then he'd come home on the weekends, and we actually went down the. So mum would take us down. Mum was like a single mum and did an awesome job. It was myself and I've got a younger sister, and we went down to Raymond West Pool one night back when it was free and it was all outdoors. You take your food down and you eat and do all that. That happened. We were having a swim like any other time. We went in to get changed to go home. So my mum and my sister went into the girls' change rooms, got changed. I went into the guys' change room, got changed and got sexually assaulted in there. And I reckon I was about 12. And it's an interesting thing because I don't know if you've read the 5 love languages, and my love language is physical touch. So it wasn't a horrendous thing that it should have been. It was like, and that sort of set me off down to a track of physical touch or sex meant love, and that was the starting point of me going downhill. Because as I say, in my family there wasn't, we didn't do a lot of hugging and kissing and all that sort of thing, and it doesn't mean they didn't love me. They provided, they loved me in their way, but my, as I say, was physical touch. So that set me down I suppose a track of looking for that, looking for love, and I, as I say, my connection to that was sex, and that set me down that track. A few other things happened. I grew up with 3 grandparents, so my dad's mum and dad and my mum's mum. Her dad passed away when she was pregnant with me, and had awesome grandparents as well. They lived in Glenroy, Melbourne, all 3 of them, and we went. So my nana, who was my mum's mum, she was just the person that loved me no matter what. It didn't matter what I did. She was my rock. And not saying my grandma and my granddad weren't the same, but just connected with her and we just had a special bond. And she passed away when I was 15. And as I say, I had Dad, I had my grandfather who were great role models, but I never saw them cry. I never saw them show any emotion. They were gentlemen, but they were tough men. I've seen Dad be hit in the face with a cricket ball, go get stitched, come back and play, and my grandfather do similar. And so I didn't show any emotion when when my nana died, and that was another turning point. I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know how to let go of that and get it out. So probably, I'm going to say between them 2 incidents, that sort of set me off. I started drinking. I had an alcohol issue, and then other issues come around that. So just sent me down a track where I was just struggling. I was just really struggling to know who I was, what was right, what was wrong, and just the coping mechanisms I went to were very poor. I speak to a lot of people now, and I love what Tony Robbins says, that we don't do anything that doesn't serve us on some level. So them addictions, even though they were real low level serving, they were serving me. They were getting me through the day. They were making me forget things. They were giving me feelings that I wanted that I didn't know how to get elsewhere. So just went down the track there, and that went on. On the surface, no one knew. I'm going to say next to no one knew any of that. Probably mates knew I'd go out on the weekend, binge drink and get rotten and forget the whole weekend sort of thing. But just went into a really dark place. And it's amazing because I was diagnosed with depression, I reckon I was 35 when I was finally diagnosed with it, 34, 35. But went right through, and it's amazing how you can have so many good things in your life. Like I got married, we're still married 27 years later, so married to a beautiful person, and had 3 wonderful kids and got a business of my own and all this sort of thing. But you can just focus on the 2 or 3 negatives that were in your life, yet you got 10 things or 100 things that are fantastic, loving mum and dad, all these things, roof over my head and all that, but just focusing on them negatives. And it just went downhill and just really, really struggled, and got to a point condense the story. Got to a point at 35. I left Melbourne. I left the shop one day, shut the door, just had enough. I can't even remember what tipped me over the edge, and just jumped in my car and I was going to Melbourne. I don't know why. Just driving down to Melbourne. Actually, I do know why, because I've got a cousin that's a little bit older than me, and she's sort of my rock as well that I can talk to. And I turned a corner and it was a Darlong Road. It was back before the freeway, and when you had to go through Murch to go to Melbourne. And I remember turning the corner and I put my foot down, and I was in a VN Commodore, and I remember just putting my foot down and feeling numb. There was no feeling, and it's about, you've got to pull off the road to get two cars down, so it's a narrow one with gum trees all the way down it. And I remember looking down and I was just doing 100, then I was doing, got up to 190, and apparently they have a chip in the cars because I had my foot flat to the floor and it wouldn't go any faster. And I was just debating which, do I turn right or do I turn left into a tree? I just had enough and wanted to know more. And I had, when you go through that crappy time, I just had this crap voice in my head, and for once it saved me. It said, if we're not swearing, but it said, it doesn't matter which way you turn, you're going to muck it up anyway. You'll become a paraplegic and you'll be a bigger burden to your family. And I ended up stopping, which seemed like it took ages to slow down from 190, and I ended up stopping, realised I need help, went to the doctor the next day and got diagnosed with depression. So, but that was, as I say, that was a 20-year period that I really, really struggled in that time. So, yeah, that's a condensed.
Yeah. Why do you think you needed that last traumatic experience to admit you needed help?
I think it was because I put on if we go back to the incident with the guy that in the change rooms, I suppose I'm going to say I put on an extra alpha front to hide that this guy touched me and I liked it. It definitely wasn't probably acceptable in that age. Well, it wasn't that age, but the year that it was. And so I think I put on this big alpha front. So I started boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, weightlifting, doing steroids to get bigger. Did all this stuff, getting in stupid fights, and so that was sort of, I suppose, my mask was you won't find out what's happening behind. So I'll put that out there. So it's probably fairly hard to it's hard to then go forward and show your weakness when you're putting on this brave front and I'm big tough Scott. I got up to probably 110 kilo, but a lot more muscle than I have these days. But and lifting weights and getting in fights and doing that sort of thing. So just put that big exterior mask on of an alpha male and did that. And a lot of the things I mentioned, whether it's karate, whether it's martial arts or wrestling or boxing or whatever, are awesome things. But I was doing a lot of them for the wrong reason. It was to hide.
Do you think that you only thought over one time frame? Like, right, what can I have right now that's going to make me feel good?
Definitely, definitely. Because I remember him coming out, and it was after I was doing it. But I remember there was a big push on I reckon it was on telly, and it was at the gyms about steroid use. It was an ad. I remember the ad, and they were going, oh well, if you take steroids, you might not be able to have babies. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And I remember thinking, no one cares. That's down the track. Like, people worried, and I was worried about today. Like, how big do I look today? How tough do I look today? It's not. I don't know. I just didn't seem to have that. What's going to happen down the future? It was all about now. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking to you now, you seem very self-aware. So even though you acted that way, I would think that you would have these conversations with yourself in the head, knowing that path was going to lead somewhere you didn't want to be, or dead or in prison.
Yep, I got you down. So and I did. It was and I suppose growing up, I was brought up with good morals and values around me. So I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew it wasn't fulfilling what I was doing, but I was just stuck. It's like I say, and I catch up with a lot of people now who are in a similar situation, or whether it's in there or stuck in a different area of their life. And I love it how they say everything's simple, but it's not easy. Like, so it's simple. How do you lose weight? It's simple. How do you save money? It's simple. How do you get in a good headspace? But it's not easy when you're just programmed and you just go to survival mode. It's just going into survival and just trying to get through every day. And you know there's stuff you're hiding. Well, for me, it was stuff I was hiding. I didn't want people to know. And so it was continually putting that the mask on. And I explained, it's interesting because I went to, when I went to the doctor, I went on medication, and that's another story, but I went, I'll explain my depression every day as my soul was sad. My inner world and my outer world weren't congruent. And I knew that. Who I was inside, I wasn't being on the outside, and it was tiring. It was just tiring and exhausting. So I knew that. I knew, but I just couldn't break it. I just found it. And I got no doubt people were saying to me, like I say to everyone else, just do this, this, this. Do some gratitude, do some exercise, eat healthy, and all these different things. I'm sure they said it to me, but it just, you need
to learn it yourself.
You do, yeah.
How did you join those two parts of yourself together? Was it after you went and had a chat to the doctor? Did those pills help?
Yeah. I'm going to comment on the pills, and I first want to say I'm not a doctor, a chemist, I'm not a mental health expert or anything like that. What I found was I went on the pills, and maybe they stopped me from trying to run myself into another tree. I'm not sure, but I got to a stage where my middle daughter, Ali, was playing for Country Vic basketball, and she come to me one day and said, "Oh, Dad, I made this side." And I remember saying, "Oh, that's great." Like, there was no... I just realised when I said that, I wasn't sad anymore, but I wasn't happy. I was just flatlined, and I hated that because I wear my heart on my sleeve. I enjoy that part of myself. I enjoy being able to express, and I just realised that they were numbing me, and I do things to extreme, which I'm getting better at. I'm getting better at not, but it also worked for me because, and I think a lot of the addictions come from I do things to extremes, but I was able to go off the medication cold turkey straight away. So that was my turning point, just to realise that, as I say, they may have served me, and I'm definitely not telling anyone else to do that. Work with your doctor, work with your health expert or whatever. I just knew for me, I needed to get off them, and so that was my turning point. Was my daughter coming to me and saying that, and just realising that, and because the other thing I said to myself at that time, I remember saying to myself is, I wasn't born with depression, so why can't I not have it again? Because I see so many people that they believe that once you've got a mental illness, you'll always have a mental illness, and I just decided that that wasn't true for me. I've seen people move through it and not be back in that space, and so that's just the truth I decided to take.
Speak to doctors, and depression pills, they're preconceived poorly, but if the side effect of not taking them is death,
definitely
they serve a purpose, and like I think people should work to get off them and develop themselves. And like, you sounded like your family gave you a lot of purpose, and that's what you really needed, and that's what keeps you happy now.
Yeah, definitely. And even my wife, we've spoken many times, and one thing I've been through the whole thing is a pretty good dad. So my wife, at times I haven't been a good husband, but my wife decided to, has always looked and gone, I'm just or her words, I'm an awesome dad. So that's kept us together at times where if I wasn't the awesome dad, she may have left. It's just, so my family is everything. It's everything to me. I love being with my wife. We walk down the street, I try to catch up with her most lunchtimes, and we walk down the street, old Nan's, go for lunch, and try to juggle my day around that. Go watch my kids play sports still, even though I don't have to, and do that. I just love being around the family. I was saying that I'm 50 this year, and my perfect birthday, which I don't think will happen because of juggling everything, would be that myself, my wife, the kids and their partners and my mum would all go to Queensland to a resort for 5 days, and that would be my perfect 50th birthday, was just around the people that are close to me.
When's your birthday?
August.
Oh, you might get it.
Got a little bit of
You
time.
might
We'll
get
just
it.
see where we go, what borders are shut and
Yeah.
what's not. And
With those traumatic experiences, how have you come to accept them?
I think I've been able to put a meaning on them. I suppose finding a meaning, and again, Tony Robbins, but I love where he says nothing has a meaning until we put a meaning on it. We're meaning making machines. We get to choose. There'll be one culture where they celebrate someone passing away. Another culture will mourn for 6 years, or another person will mourn for 6 years. It's the same event. It's we get to choose what meaning we put on it. But so even when with the incident that happened with me at the pool, it's made me very aware that I don't believe that's happened to any of my kids. So that's the meaning I put on it. It doesn't make it right what happened. But it's just, that's the meaning I've taken out of it, is I've just been able to be very aware of where my kids are, what's happening. And as far as I know, it hasn't happened. Even with my dad passing away, my dad had... Dad and I were close and played a lot of sport together and that sort of thing, and he had Parkinson's, so he was in a crippled body. So it was about putting a meaning on it. Like, I'd be selfish if I wanted Dad here because he was struggling. He was really struggling. It also allowed me, and I would swap it in a heartbeat for Dad to be back here, but it's allowed me to step up as the man of the Keating family. And I feel I've really stood up since then. So just putting them sort of meanings on it, but just trying to find a positive meaning that can move you forward. And I still go out. Dad's buried out at Toolamba, and some mornings I'll go out there at 5 o'clock and just sit with Dad and just be around there and watch the foxes and it's a nice cemetery out there. It's got the kangaroos out there and all that. So yeah, just trying to put that meaning on it.
Yeah, dads are special because they just seem like they're the all-knowing.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't know it all, but my dad,
Yeah.
he knows it.
Yeah.
So stepping up into that place is a big challenge, but one that you've obviously faced.
Oh,
and
it is.
enjoyed the result of.
Yeah, and seeing them and you grow up and Dad was my hero and to see him start fading away. But then I learned so much from Dad. I was asked one day, what's the biggest lesson you learned from your dad? And there's heaps of lessons right through, but in the last bit he had Parkinson, was, as I say, in a crippled body. And I thought he'd sit away and be too proud and just sit at home until his time was up, sort of thing. But he went out and he was bowling, and because his head dropped, so Mum would tie he put a head sort of band thing on, and then tie a dressing gown cord from the back of his head to his belt, so he could put his head up so he could bowl. And he was just out and about, and just to see. And I suppose that as I'm talking about it now, that's probably the point where I've gone, well, who cares what people think? Like, Dad was out there bowling, and when he shouldn't have, looked ridiculous, and he didn't care. He was doing something he loved and kept doing it. So, yeah, that's the biggest lesson. So also in that last time of Dad, I learned some awesome lessons of, you dealt a card, a hand of cards, and pick your best hand out of it.
Yeah.
Do with it the best you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in your imagination you'd be like, well, what are people going to think when they see my dad tied up like that? But if I walked past a cricket oval and I seen that, I'd be yelling out bravo and clapping. And that's another testimony to the Shepparton community, because I think as you're telling me that story, it's making me feel happy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dad had, when he passed away, it was, so many people, it still amazes me because Dad said very few words. I could just go sit in Dad's presence and walk away better. He'd say a couple of words or a couple of sentences in a couple of hours, and that was enough. And I was joking at some people that, because Dad's funeral was a big funeral, it was in the paper and on the news, and because he had a lot to do with sporting clubs. And that's what I said, how do so many people turn up when he hardly said anything? And they said, yeah, but when he said something, it was important. So, It was, and just another real quick story. I batted with Dad one day. We were playing cricket, and we won a grand final. He made 70, I made 60. He made 70 out, I made 69 not out, and I said to someone one day, because he had a broken knee and he was playing, so he was hitting fours or nothing really.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I would have made 100 if Dad hadn't batted with me. And the other bloke, Dennis Dean, who's a solicitor up here, said, if your dad wasn't batting, you wouldn't have made 69. I'm going, yeah, you're right. Just that calming influence to go, put your head down, Scott. And yeah, so that summed up my dad. So yeah.
Yeah, great.
Just have that.
I sent you these questions before you came in, and one that I've written down is, how do you feel about masculinity? And now I'm really intrigued to hear your answer to that.
Yeah, I've gone. It's very interesting. I'm at a different place now than what I've been, and it's very interesting. And so I've gone through a stage where, as I say, I've struggled to be that I was a guy and I didn't feel like I could show my emotion. So I've definitely felt that and lived that. And was a big part of my struggle. At the same time now, I also feel we've sometimes gone a little bit too far with masculinity or toxic masculinity and not allowing men or males, boys, to be who they are. And I think that's the key to it all, is be who you are. Like, you might be a masculine man or a masculine woman, or like, want to conquer the world, go conquer the world. But if you're not, then don't. But we're trying to now. I just feel a lot of people I speak to, the boys and that, they're giving up in society. They're not trying. They're not doing anything because they're not allowed to. They're scared they're going to be judged. And we live in a culture that once you do something wrong, we're going to cut you off. You know, it makes me remember of Barry Hall when he was on that podcast or TV, I think radio, and he was talking and went too far with something he said, and it's like this cut-off culture, like, all right, he's made a mistake or he said something he shouldn't have. Instead of asking him why and teaching him a lesson or having a discussion and going, does he want to learn something? It's like, if you say something wrong, you do something wrong, we're going to cut you off. And we're going to ban you from social media, we're going to ban you from here, we're going to publicly shame you. And I just feel with masculinity at the moment, we got a lot of boys that are. I did a video the other day, and we've got a lot of boys and men that are struggling. And it's like, well, I suppose you go back to the privilege, and I get it to a degree, but and what I'm about to say is not to take away from anyone else. If you're rocking out in another area supporting different people, then do that. Like, I got a wife and 2 daughters, and I want them to have the same opportunities as myself and my son. Yet we seem to be taking, or not giving our boys and men a lot of opportunities now. I said the other day, and I could be wrong, but I didn't see it. Like, running into our last election in council in Shepparton, there was a workshop for girls, like how to run a strategy, how to do this, how to do that, and everything else. Not for guys. Like, so what about Johnny, who's in year 12, and he's just come out of year 12, and he wants to do it? Work it out yourself. Like, and yet we have, and I get it, because I think the numbers are across the state are about 40% to 60% female to male, or 35 to 75 or whatever it was. And but in Shepparton, as far as I can remember, in the last 2 elections, we've had 4 girls and 5 guys. Our mayor, Dinny might have been a mayor. We've had, majority of the time, we've had a female mayor.
Yeah.
Our politicians, up until Drum, have been female. So we have opportunities. And as I say, this is not to take away from any of them, but I see so many boys going, I'm not needed anymore. I'm not needed. Like, I don't know how to join council. Like, someone said on my page, you should join council. I don't want to join. Council don't want me to join council, but it's like, well, how do you do it? Like, there's no, how do I run a campaign strategy? How do I run? And the girls are getting that stuff. And as I say, I think that's awesome. But then what are we doing to the boys? The boys, I speak to teachers, and the boys are struggling in school and they're falling further behind. And then they're just growing up and not seeing opportunities, and then they're feeling like they can't go and be a leader, because you go be a leader, you're putting yourself out there, and if you step over the line of fraction is a toxic masculinity, and yet you see a lot of people that lead. I think Ellen DeGeneres has just come off all that she was toxic and her environment was toxic. And I think a lot of time when you lead, you are pushing forward, you're pushing boundaries, you're trying to achieve, you're holding people around you to a standard that, you just sort of struggle in that area. And so I see that with masculinity. It's about, and obviously everyone's got to do themselves, and we've got to allow guys to be allowed to show vulnerable. But on the other hand, and I get it's emotional wise, but we do show vulnerability. It's the guy in general, or in my generation anyway, that you went to ask the girl out. Like, isn't that vulnerability? Isn't it? Aren't you putting yourself on your line to, here's a girl I like, I want to ask her out to the pictures or whatever, and she might say no. And when you go for a job, and so we do have, men are being vulnerable, but we also do need to let them show their emotion. And probably around emotion, we need to start realising, I love the saying I heard the other day that there's not positive and negative emotions, there's just emotions. It's what we do to it. Like, anger's okay. And I hid my anger for so long because I scared me when I got angry, especially in that dark time. So I hid that away thinking, oh, that's a negative emotion. I need to hide that. I need to hide anger, frustration and all that. Yet I went back exploring that over the last little bit, and my anger, now that you can have anger if you can get it out in a constructive way and not a destructive way. And that's probably what we need to teach, especially our guys and our boys, is it's okay to be angry, but how do you express it? How do you get it out of you and deal with it as such? Because there's ways to get it out. And I know for myself, I went back to explore my anger, and I thrive when I'm backed into a corner. And I didn't back myself into a corner for so long because I didn't want to go to that angry or pissed off or frustrated area. Yet when I can use that for good, I can use that for moving me forward and achieving what I want to achieve, helping other people around me. It's a bit like when people cry, like, and so many people cry, like, oh, sorry. Well, why are you sorry? You obviously want to cry, like, cry.
Yes.
But we got to apologise, because crying or anger is not really permitted. It's not a real, it's not seen as a positive, as I say, it's seen as a negative emotion, but it's an emotion when we should be able to go through our emotions and explore that. So yeah, with masculinity, we just should be able to be ourselves and do that. And I think it is awesome that we've got more guys out now expressing their emotions and vulnerability and showing that they can be hard and soft. There's a time to be hard, there's a time to be soft. But then that's been my journey too, is I now know that because I've been hard. Then I now know how to be soft, and I can combine the two. I can be hard if I want to be hard, but I can be soft and supportive if I need to go there.
Yeah, I think we need to allow honest conflict, and there's probably a small minority of people who just want to destroy everything, and they give masculinity a bad rap.
Yeah, definitely, and that's where I know I went through a stage, and I'm guessing it's about 2 years ago. I felt like getting up each morning, doing a Facebook Live, and instead of saying, hi, I'm Scott Keating, and the way you start your day sets up your day, I felt like I just want to apologise for how I was born. And I went through that feeling like that, and I've spoken to other guys that feel like that it's just like, well, sorry, like I can't change it, and then I'm thinking, well, hang on, I haven't done anything wrong to you, or I haven't done anything really wrong for a long time, and it's just being ourselves. But then, and as I say, we're all pigeonholed. Girls have got, or females, if you go back, they've got the stigma of the house should be clean, the tea should be on the table, you should look pretty, you shouldn't be dirty. So we all have our own struggles, and we just got to, as I say, be you. If you want to be the tomboy girl, be the tomboy girl. If you want to be a soft guy, be a soft guy. And hopefully we can just teach people and give them a safe space. Like a safe space as in allowing people to make mistakes, because, as I say, we just live in a culture that you make a mistake, I'm going to publicly shame you. It's like, I'm going to jump on social media and go, oh, you're racist, or you're sexist, or you're this or that. Instead of just, I don't know, we don't talk enough. We don't allow conversation, as you say, allow conversations to happen, and that's where we thrive. Like, I can't think of anything worse. Like, obviously you attract likeness, But I also want to be around people who have a different opinion. I don't like if I spend all day with someone who agrees with me, that's sort of a wasted day a little bit. Like I want to be someone that goes, I want to be able to sit down, have a respectful conversation and go, oh, well, yeah, they see something different. Well, why do you see it that way? And then shut up and listen and learn and go, oh, well, maybe you agree to disagree. Maybe you learn something.
Yeah, you want to know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of the time, it's we've got this program, and I know with Barry Hall, it was like he got shouted down. Well, Barry Hall, and I'm not defending Barry Hall, but he's probably had programming for 40 years of this is what's said in the locker rooms and this is what's said, and he said it like, and now we're meant to change our programming straight away. And if we could all do that, there'll be no one who's obese because there's a program of how not to be obese. There's a program of how to save money, and we all just got to just change our programming. And many of us grow up with money doesn't grow on trees and all that. That's our programming, and that's a hard thing to just change overnight and go, oh, money's abundant. Or I can be healthy, or I don't say these things, or we get programmed, and we've got to have time to work through that, and people to correct us definitely. And I think I'm loving at the moment see so many guys out helping, because we just need more guys out and pulling each other up. It's like I see with and without getting right into it, you see the thing with George Floyd in America. Well, my issue is, and I know there's a hierarchy and a ranking and all that in police, but why doesn't someone go, hey, that's not on? Like like that's what we need to do better is, especially as men, grab our boy, let him make a mistake, but then go, hey, that's not right. You shouldn't do that, or that's not the right thing to do, and just correct each other, but in a loving way, not in a toxic shut you off and cut you out of society way, shaming way.
And like the programs that you just said, like making money and not like fighting obesity and stuff like that. Like I think about how many times I've tried to get into shape and I don't get it right every time. Like I'll get it right for 4 weeks and then I'll fall off the wagon. And that's the same with any sort of programming. It's going to take a long time. Like you're going to have to try and fail, get a little bit further next time, and then eventually it just becomes who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
One last question, Scott. Who locally inspires you?
Who locally inspires me? I'm going to say, probably goes back to what I said, but the only thing that really annoys me is people that bag the area. So locally, who inspires me, there are just so many people there. Anyone who's doing the best they can and probably all giving back to the community. If they're out there helping people, I see people like, through COVID, it was amazing to watch gym owners. How did they pivot and help and support each other? You see, people like Josh Cullen and Anthony Murphy that start their business part time, then they're moving into their business, and to see all that stuff happening, it's just there's just so many. So I'm going to say, it's all the councillors that put their hands up, or the people that put their hands up to be councillors that are on there for the reasons of developing the area, and people doing podcasts that are bringing to the forefront the people in the community that are helping. So there's just easy cop out, but there's just so many. There's so many that if you give them back to the community, and that probably comes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't have an issue if you knock the community, but what did you do today to put back into the community? How did you help someone else in the community? And if you haven't done that, then unfortunately your opinion's irrelevant. Like, it's sort of irrelevant. I find it anyway. But if you're giving back, so anyone who today gives something back, smile past, even if it's a smile when you walk past someone down the street, or a g'day to a stranger, and just makes Shepparton and the Golden Valley what it is, that we're that warm. And I know in the first lockdown, I'd noticed before we got masked, I just found so many people, their heads were up and they're smiling at each other, just a little nod, are you okay? And just them little things. It's the person that does the barbecue for the homeless people, and just, it's just so much inspiration around the Golden Valley. I just love it. Absolutely love it. Love the people that give back, the people that support each other, and it's just awesome to watch. So, it's just love that. The mum and dads are doing an awesome job with their kids up here, and Love them all.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me, Scott.
Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate it.